All right, so we have a mouse with a highly customizable design. This is the Solaka, I guess, 802. And this thing is really cool because you can actually change the shell of this as well as hot swap the switches. So we have two different switches, but I feel like this is a cool budget mouse that you can honestly maintain the mouse really well and kind of change it because you can hot swap the switches. You can put in whatever you want. And if you get the dreaded double click, you can actually just take off the switches and get rid of it. So I think that's a really cool design. So you can see this thing has RGB. So, you know, the see-through effect makes the RGB a little bit more. This is a more budget-oriented mouse, but you could just kind of take off the back of this. So pulling it back, you can see the underside, right, with RGB. And then from the front, actually right here, you can kind of take this out, and then you can take off the top. So then now it reveals the whole entire kind of underside of this. Now the switches of this is actually hot swappable, which is really cool. So as you can see, I actually switched this one out from the clicky to the silent switches that they come with in the box. They actually give you the tool to take it out and the extra silent switches in there. But really it's pretty easy. You just kind of go over it, pull it, go over it, pull it up like I did, and well, lose your switch inside of there. You could most likely do a better job than I did. And then afterwards, you basically just drop the switch in there sideways. Then you can push that down, and then you're done. And then, yeah, after you do that, you can put it back together. And since you can actually see the switch, this actually comes with a guano blue switches, so that's kind of cool. You can actually, you know, put on the different shells. So if you guys want to see what it looks like with the solid shell, you could just kind of put that in, pop it on there. And there you go. You pop on the solid shell. The solid shell honestly feels better. The difference in weight is honestly not that much. It's only 2 grams difference. So you're only saving 2 grams by going with a non-solid shell. So honestly, I probably do prefer the solid shell. Honestly, the 2 gram difference isn't gonna make a difference for me. So putting on the scale, it's 67 grams with the solid shell. With the 2 kind of, I guess, holy shells, I guess, it actually is 65 grams. So you save 2 grams by going to that. Actual lightweight mouse with holes built into. This is a 40 gram mouse. This is WL Mouse Beast X. It's obviously a lot more expensive at $150 versus this mouse costs only about, I think, $35. With all these sales and discounts, you can get it for like $25, honestly, so it's way cheaper. And then obviously we have the final mouse as well, which is 37 grams. So these are obviously lighter weight mouse with holes in them, but this mouse has the RGB that it's so famous for, I guess. If you feel like your RGB, this definitely has more of that. And then let's do I guess a sound test for you guys. You guys can see what it sounds like. So when it comes to switches, honestly, clicks are actually pretty decent, to be honest. The side switches are actually not bad. They actually feel a little bit better than my Logitech's, to be honest. The scroll wheel is probably the, I guess, most lackluster. This reminds me of my G403 or 703, which is very, very just like fast scrolling. There's not much steps. I feel like I'm used to the more, I guess, you can feel the tactile motions of them better. This one is just very slippery. So I feel like I like something a little bit more tighter, in my opinion. And then we have the kind of polling rate button to change, and then you can also change the RGB with the button as well. Then on the bottom of this mouse, you actually have a turn off mode, a turn off light and turn on mode, and then a light on and mouse on mode. So you have 3 different modes. And then on the right side, you actually have different modes for the connection type. So you have 2.4 gigahertz, which is what I recommend you use, which is the wireless mode. And then you also have Bluetooth wireless, which will, you know, have a little bit more of that Bluetooth lag to it. So I recommend you go to the dongle mode. And the dongle could actually be stored under this. So it just comes with a standard dongle that fits under it, and you can actually see into the mouse from the bottom. So it's kind of interesting design, but yeah, this is kind of all the functionality. And yeah, so the overall performance of this in game, which is honestly pretty interesting. The first thing I guess I should talk about is the sensor. It comes with this. It comes with a Pixar 3325, so it's actually an older Pixar sensor. But I was actually surprised it came with a branded Pixar sensor, to be honest, at its price point. And I was like using it in Valorant, and I could definitely hit my shots with it. It actually felt very, very similar to the newer Pixar ones. So it definitely has a brand new sensor, which is really good, albeit a little older one. And the wireless performance is only at 1,000 polling rate that this comes with, so you're not getting any of the crazy like 4K, 8K polling rates. So I definitely felt like it was a little slow compared to what I'm used to, right? I'm used to these 8K mouses over here, so they do feel a little bit more responsive. So I would say this is what kind of gives it that little bit of the budget factor. But at 1K, it was definitely usable and very good. And it felt honestly pretty responsive for a PixArt sensor as well. So it actually had all of that going for it. Now, obviously, if you want, a higher, faster, more responsive mouse, I definitely recommend you go with those 4K or 8K mices. They definitely are going to perform better. But for a budget mouse that gives you the ability to kind of maintain it, hot swap it, this is a pretty cool option. However, the funniest thing about this mouse is that I'm going to recommend other mouse that I saw. It is actually the Solaka 800 mouse, and that one actually comes with a full solid shell. It's actually even lighter than this mouse at I think 58 grams, and it won't have any of the flexing issues that this one will have because it's a swappable top, because it has a full shell on it. And then it actually comes with the newest PixArt sensor, or not the newest one, but the 3395, which is I guess the second gen of their sensor. And it's the same one they actually use in my final mouse, ULX, which is the $190 mouse, except that mouse from Solakaka, I guess. I mean, their name is so interesting. Now, when it comes to actual gaming performance from this mouse, so using games, I was able definitely to hit my shots. Definitely, like I said, not as responsive as my, higher pulling mouse, but the actual shape of this mouse is actually pretty nice. This mouse is actually not that long, not that big. It honestly feels very similar just in size to like my, Final mouses or my Beast X. It's not too long, maybe a little longer than these mices. It's definitely taller and more supportive. It feels in my hand a little bit more. So I actually like the shape in the sense of like it feels in my hand. I feel like I can actually feel the hump of this mice, and it feels really good and it fills it out really well. And then you can actually see the sides actually contour in, which is really nice. You can see these grooves, so it allows you to really just hold on to the mouse and get a nice grip to it with its kind of ambidextrous kind of a shape. So honestly, when it comes to shape, the shape is actually really good. I find the mouse to be almost basically perfectly sized for my hand. Honestly, like I can get to the very front of the mouse easily. In conclusion, this is a pretty interesting mouse. I think they actually have a better one. The SM800 probably is a more complete package if you're looking for just a good mouse out of the box. But this one is pretty cool with its swappable switches and the ability to kind of maintain this mouse. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe down below. I'll try videos out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.